Welcome, Compassionators, to this edition of the Infuse Compassion podcast. We're thrilled to have you with us today. We have a wonderful guest that we've just had a delightful preliminary conversation with. And I'm going to turn it over to my friend Amy to introduce Nancy and to get us kicked off.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm really excited to introduce our next guest, Nancy Griffin. Now, I first want to start out by saying Nancy reached out to us. She emailed Mark and I and said, "Hey, listen, I have something to share. And I think it's a great fit for your podcast." Told us a little bit about herself, and we said, yes, absolutely. So that's the type of person that we are going to meet with today, is not somebody who waits for people to knock on their door, but intentionally seeks out opportunities. We're talking about Nancy Griffin. Nancy is a connector and influencer, attributing her success to personal courage, determination, and joy when focusing on women's health and wellness, hence creating women, worth, and wellness. Nancy enjoys every opportunity to inspire and inform women about their personal health and wealth, net worth, and self worth, philanthropy, and legacy, so that women feel fabulous, generous, joyful, confident, and on top of their game every day. Yes, amen to that. Nancy, welcome.
Thank you. Amen, sister. And you know what's really funny? I have this fabulous virtual assistant whose name is Crystal. And I had somebody else do my website because she's so great on everything else. I wanted her to stay focused on that. So she is talking to this web person. They don't know one another, but she's giving him background about me. And to your point, she says, Crystal says to Andrew, Nancy knows absolutely everyone. And if she doesn't know them, she introduces herself to them. So this is what brought me to you guys, which is wonderful. And I'm delighted to be here.
Well, we are so honored and thrilled to have you here, Nancy. As I was reading and learning and researching about you, there's a phrase that stood out that just reached in and grabbed me. Prime time women. I went, oh my goodness, I have goosebumps just saying it. Nancy, please explain what's prime time women? Who is it?
Who are part-time women?
Yes.
Okay, so I was a member of WPO, Women Presidents Organization, out of New York. Canada and Toronto had the first international chapter way back when, and I was one of the members. Now there are about almost 30 chapters in Canada and WPOs all over the world. So at one of the WPO conferences, we had this guest speaker, Marty Bartoletta, out of Chicago, who has written a book, Primetime Women, but was presenting. So as she's presenting and giving me all the background in terms of, who is a primetime woman, I realized that I had been raised by a primetime woman. And I'm the youngest of four, and I was a mistake or a surprise. And so my mother, of course, now has got a fourth child that she's got a mother while being a housewife. But at the same time, she's ready to get on with the rest of her life. So at the age of 52, I think, she launched her business. So I was a very young child. And of course, she wants to focus on that, but she's still being a mother. But it's kind of like, you know what? Enough of this mothering and this housework and this, looking after this whole family. I want to get on with what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so it's interesting how, with her energy and determination to becoming an entrepreneur, and me being a young person around a lot of the activities that were going on, all of a sudden the penny kind of dropped. And I thought, oh my goodness, I was raised by a primetime woman. And really, primetime women are ages sort of, I think she defines 55 to 70, women who are still very, very vibrant, but women who are really starting to turn into themselves in terms of what do I want for my self-actualization.
And that is, I get this 100%. That's probably why it struck me so much, because I am 54. And I'm telling you, there's something that happens right around 50 And
Yes.
and as the numbers accumulate, it grows and grows. And it's I remember being in awe of women when I was younger in this age, and I couldn't understand why. And then now that I'm here, I'm like, oh, it's like
Right.
all this stuff that
Yes.
didn't matter just falls away, or did, but it had its place, and now you're moving on to you. You get to
Exactly.
finally prioritize you. So
Yeah.
thank you
You're welcome.
for kicking us off with that. Mark, I know you've got a question you want to get in here. Let's get you in here.
Yeah, I know there's a pivot point for you, Nancy, where you are in the corporate world, and then you decided to start this business. What was it that led you to create Women Worth and Wellness? And if my notes are right here, it was back in 1994 when that started.
Correct.
So what was it that
Yeah.
inspired you to do that, and what is it that you're actually bringing to the world with that business?
Okay. Well, very quickly, my first career was with Procter and Gamble, and I was one of the first female managers in Canada with Procter and Gamble. So I'm really dating myself, of course. Anyway, that was a big deal. So then away you go and you do your career. It was 5 years in finance, 13 in HR. But sort of mid 30s, I was realizing this career isn't going where I'd hoped it would. And I'm starting to think, I found out later that my VP, was not promoting me for international assignments because I was a mother. I had a young child. And of course, I only found out when these other people told me, we've been asking for you. I didn't know this. And so at that point, I'm making plans to move on. And as people will remember, Amy, you may remember this, turning 39, that's heading into your 40s and menopause. It's like you're 39 and you're going to be 82 overnight. and, and so that's when I thought, oh my goodness, I got to do something. So I'd just gone on this community services board. Up until then, it was all corporate and family. And we had this incident in the community, which was a tragedy. And my role on this board was, Nancy, you're in charge of community outreach, thinking it was kind of a soft role, no big deal. Well, all of a sudden I'm the spokesperson. And thank goodness for my Procter and Gamble training, because I was able to be a terrific spokesperson, because all the different levels of government were blaming one another for this terrible incident that had happened. So as a result of that, I'm seeing a community that is completely different than what people are thinking it is. And there was a federal election coming up. So I ran for the federal Liberal nomination in that North Toronto riding. And the people who from Procter and Gamble said, "What is she doing now?" But through that process, you get to share what you're seeing and how we can build a better community. But coming out of that, then now I'm basically the CEO of the community, because you're leading here and you're leading there. After 3 years, I thought I've got to get a job out of this community. And that's when I was recruited into wealth management. And once I was there, I thought, oh my goodness, I should have been here 20 years earlier. It's just a great, great role for women. And when you focus on compassion, you can't do that role exceptionally well unless you are compassionate. Really, that's the essence of what that whole role is all about. You've got to care about the other person, and you've got to bring everything that all of your training, all of your professional expertise into play as you focus on your clients and serving them exceptionally well. So once I got started, they said, okay, Nancy, you've got a great training program, and you're all ready to go. There's only one small problem: you don't have any clients. You got to go find your own clients. So part of the training was, you've got to focus on prospecting people with whom you feel you can add a lot of value over time, because it's going to be a very long standing relationship. And so I thought, okay, I'll focus on women, not exclusively, but primarily, because women in the 90s were just starting to earn significant amounts of money, to the point where they're now paying attention to investing. Also, the 90s, you'll probably remember, was about women learning how to play golf. And so and again, as I met with women, I found out that they are like the nurse practitioner in their family. They're expected to look after all the health and wellness of, their kids, their in laws, their parents, everybody. So I thought, I am reasonably intelligent, I'm reasonably knowledgeable, but when it comes to medical, what do I know? So that's when I started to partner with not for profit health related organizations focusing on women. And in Toronto, we have a hospital, fabulous hospital called Women's College Hospital, over 100 years old, and that's all they do: research, seminars, programs, treatment on women's health. So I would partner with them for different seminars and events, invite my clients to come, my female clients, and of course they'll bring their friends. You know that women generally travel in packs because one will hear about an event and then it's like, well, I wonder if they're, well, that sounds great. Well, and it's also a great way to learn because women will ask all sorts of different questions and questions that you may not have thought of. So I did all sorts of different events. Heart and Stroke Foundation. We've got a terrific cancer hospital, Princess Margaret. So my whole point is I partnered with these not-for-profit health-related organizations focusing on women, and they were delighted that I was bringing people to them to learn about all that they did. It's also when I started to introduce charitable giving as a way of enhancing your net worth because of course it's a deduction from your tax return and you're paying fewer taxes when you're making that donation. But as we all know, when you are a giver, more often than not, the person who receives the greatest gift is you as the person who's extended. And so that's where the self worth came from. And of course, here we are 32 years later, where that whole business of charitable giving has turned into incredible philanthropic opportunity for women because they are earning that much more. But equally important, they're now starting to inherit from their parents with a whole lot more to come. So now women are in a really, really significant, powerful role with their wealth to steward it in so many different ways that can make a huge difference.
That
So I'll come up here.
that is such a journey what you just
Right.
shared. And I want to take us to, like, really, when you look ahead and you think about your boldest vision for women, like, what do you see the work that you're doing as a part of women, worth, and wellness, and this evolution of women? What are you seeing in the future?
Well, I'm hoping that I can have Melinda French Gates come and be a guest speaker. And I'm hoping that I might be able to secure her for the December event because she is such a role model. I mean, obviously she has tremendous wealth, but what's most important about what she's doing is she's maximizing that wealth in so many different ways. Another person whose book I got is Reverend Marianne Budge. She's the Episcopal minister in Washington who led the service after Trump's inauguration. And I don't know if you remember, but she was encouraging him to have mercy on migrants that, of course, he's sending away. She's written a book called How We Learn to Be Brave. And this is what I'm hoping that I can bring forward for women. And it really gets to the worthy aspect, the net worth and the self worth. But again, you are worthy with now this wealth that you're stewarding to really step up and be a leader and make a difference in so many different places in so many different ways. And of course, in order to be able to do that, you need to be working with some sophisticated wealth advisors who can help you. And that, you're having a dialogue. This is who I'm thinking I would like to do a significant donation to. Well, the wealth advisor can help you make sure that that organization is all on side. Because the last thing you want to do is donate some dollars to an organization and found out that there's some fraudulent activity or they're everything isn't as though it seems. So once you head into this whole world of philanthropy and legacy planning, lots of complexities come into play. But again, all I'm wanting to do is to encourage women to step forward, step up, step out, and see the opportunity that exists. And then we can talk about, okay, let's make sure that we've got some great wealth advisors in place to help you with all of this.
Excellent. Thank you.
There were three words that you used, and you kind of went by them, and I want to talk about the balance of this: health, wealth, and self worth.
Right.
And I look at those and go, well, yeah, those things all kind of go together. Why is it hard sometimes for the women you serve to balance those three things: health, wealth, and self worth?
Well, first of all, the worst thing you could call a woman is that she's very selfish. She's very selfish. No woman ever wants to be called selfish, but because she's very busy helping everybody else and looking after everybody else. But what I advocate is you do have to be selfish and you do have to make your health the number one priority because we take our bodies for granted. We get up and we go, 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 and we do whatever we're doing, and we keep going until something stops us. And so don't take your health for granted. You start with your health. How healthy are you today? And what do I need to do in order to stay healthy going forward? And again, like I have mentioned about working with a trusted wealth advisor, you want a trusted health advisor. And that is more difficult to find, but it's not impossible. We also know that it's very, very expensive to be unhealthy. And so that's why I twinned the two. And I also say that if you're working with a wealth advisor, you want to make sure that in that total wealth plan, that person has said, what if you're diagnosed with cancer? What if you have a disability? What if you have premature? Because all of those what ifs need to be built into your total wealth plan. It isn't just, what stock should I buy now? Is it too late to get in on some of these great AI companies that are, soaring, going through the roof? That's some of it, but certainly not all of it.
So I want to stay here in this place of self-compassion, prioritizing yourself as a woman, and I don't care who's listening, men, women, all of us, right? What do you say to that person that is really struggling to do that? They have, I'm going to say, they've got two little ones, single parent, works three jobs, really. Like, there is no, like, I would imagine that person may be in a place of where? When I look at the piece of the pie of my day, there is nothing for me. So what do you say and offer to that person?
Okay, that person is probably struggling because they're trying to do it all themselves. And I say, even dentists don't do their own dental work. Like, just don't do it. Because if you're struggling, the last thing that you want to do is talk to a friend or a family member, because then they're going to be really concerned. Then they're going to be on your case. And guess what? You have no time for them to be on your case. So that's why you need to find these trusted advisors with whom you can have a conversation. And they don't just arrive magically. Like, you've got to do a lot of homework to find the right person that has the credentials, number one, but then number two, has your back, has the right attitude in terms of helping you. Because what that person really needs is just to do a rewind right back to the basics. Okay, let's talk about your health. Because if you're not healthy, how in the world can you handle all of those responsibilities of three jobs and two kids as a single parent? Really? Like, your health is your treasure. It really is. And then once you get a handle on that, obviously making sure that they're sleeping appropriately, making sure that they're taking time to bring some joy into their, what are some things that you can do that can make you happy, that can bring some joy? And probably it's something you're doing with your kids so that everybody can enjoy it, because resources are limited and time is limited. And then the same thing with your whole wealth scenario is make sure that you're working. And more and more, there are software programs that you can try to build things up. But again, if you're not familiar with that software program, that takes time. You don't have time. I'm a certified financial planner, and I know they're in the US. You can do CFP near me, and two or three names will pop up. And those people are in business to look after you. So meet with them. And if they say you don't have enough money, my minimum is whatever, you then say to that person, okay, well, who would you suggest that I contact? Is this somebody that you know? Is this somebody in your team, perhaps, that I could start off working with? So you really have to push forward with a lot of questions and to be your own agent, your own advocate. But you have to put yourself out there and work your way through, because once you find those resources with whom you can work, that's where the self-worth comes into play. You feel like $1,000,000. You feel like, you know what, I've got my act together. I know why I have this. I know what I need to do. I know how much money to allocate, how much time, all those sorts of things. But you've got to do the work. Nobody's going to come and perform magic and say, okay, there you go. There, it's all there for you. Doesn't happen. My logo with Women Worth and Wellness is you're standing on a hill and your arms are way up, like, yes. And that's when everything is in order. And actually, I'll give you a little story. This one woman in Canada who's excellent, everybody knows her. She was at a conference with women, 400 women apparently, and she was speaking. And then she said, okay, girls, put your arms up. So they go, she said, put your arms up. Like, really, you've got so much going for you. Put your arms up and let's get at it. I thought that was spot on.
Well, and just doing it, like, that is so awesome to just do. You're like saying, look at me. Like, I'm not going to hide in the corner. Come on, Mark,
No.
do it with us. Get those hands up. That's right.
I know. It's so true. And this one fellow saw my logo and it's on a hill. It's standing on a hill. He said, well, no, shouldn't that be like this? I said, no, nobody wants to stand in a ditch. And
The only reason you're lifting your hands up if you're standing in a ditch is to get that hand to pull you out.
right. Help. But when I created the brand and the logo, I thought the clients that I was working with at the time, if I have served them to the ultimate point, that's exactly how they should feel when they leave my office. It's like I'll walk out into the middle of traffic because my affairs are in order. Like I feel great.
There is some great confidence that comes with that knowing that you've got those things lined up. In our preliminary conversation, we talked about your definition of an accomplished woman. And I just really liked some of what you said there. And so let's go back to that. How do you define an accomplished woman today, as opposed to maybe 20 years ago? What's your thought around accomplished women?
Exactly. Well, we were all seeking accomplishments and achievements, and we wanted to arrive, and we all took so many different routes to get there. And so recently, I mentioned to you that this one woman, when she was interviewing me, asked, do I still define an accomplished woman the same way today as I did then? And I said, no. An accomplished woman is somebody who has arrived, somebody who has achieved a significant amount, has many accomplishments through all of the work that they've been coming through. But they're not stopping there. They're still passionate about continuing on with more aspirations for more accomplishments, to bring more joy to their own well-being, because you're proud of yourself when you set big goals and you achieve them. But more importantly, they're making a difference in the world. They're doing something to make a difference in their communities, which then can make a huge difference in the world. Small acts end up turning into, big contributions. And so today it's somebody who continues on and is still making a huge difference. And people really admire those people because they've got such energy and such attitude that it's like, get out of my way. I've got more work to do.
And I love the definition that accomplished is not a place where you are. It's the journey that you're on.
Correct.
That's what I'm hearing from you. I'm putting my own words on it. I hope that was accurate, Nancy.
Oh, no, definitely.
Yeah.
We used to say, go big and go home. Now I say, go big and keep going. Why are you going home? You're not done yet.
That's fantastic. Would you share with our listeners, where can they get more of Nancy Griffin?
They can go to the website, which is womenworthwellness.com, or they can send me an email. I love emails. Send me an email. Ask me a question. Tell me a story. And it's Nancy at womenworthwellness.com. Nancy at womenworthwellness.com. Would love to hear from you. And we're on all the social media. And, Crystal, my virtual assistant, is pushing stuff out all the time. And as I mentioned, we've got this speaker series coming, and it will be amazing. And actually, I talked about how I got into wealth management with this other woman taking me 180 degrees in another direction. Same thing with this whole podcasting experience. She knew me from Women's College Hospital Foundation in Toronto. She moved to Miami about 3 years ago, I guess. And about 6 months ago, she said, Nancy, you've got to try this out. This is really fun. Blah, blah, blah. So connected me with Podpitch in New York, and away we go. And it really has been a journey. And that's thanks to her. Thanks to her. So we always need to pay attention to other people and what they think we should be doing. And it's always wonderful when somebody like that is a champion for you, which is also an opportunity for you to be a champion for others.
Yeah.
I love the paying forward. I love that. What is one tip, Nancy, that you can share with our listeners, our compassionators, on what they can do to show themselves more compassion, to infuse compassion into their world this week, into their life this week?
Very simply, give more than you take.
Oh,
Give more than you take. Like, open the door for somebody. Even if it's a man, open the door for the man. And the other, I saw the comment recently was, if you see somebody without a smile, give them one of yours. How simple is that? I mean, seriously. And sometimes if I'm feeling really frisky, I'll look right at somebody. You're in public and you look right at them and smile. And they invariably will look back and go, do I know you?
yes.
And then you all have a laugh.
Okay, Nancy, that happened to me at the post office 2 hours ago. I'm not exaggerating. It's so funny. A woman walked out with kind of a grumpy look on her face, and I just made eye contact and smiled, and she kind of looked at me like, and we didn't even stop and have a conversation, but I walked in kind of chuckling, thinking, she's back there thinking, how do I know this person?
No, seriously, have some fun. Lighten up. You know how challenging the world is these days, and we get all the information about all the awful things that are going on. So have some fun. And the other thing that I talk about is to live your life as a split screen, because all the negative stuff comes out. Fade it to black. Fade it to black. Just default to something positive.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you focus on the positives, the more positives come into play. Because if you focus on a positive and then you find a way to make it even better, amazing. Amazing.
That's awesome.
You are honestly one of our most vibrant guests. I'm just vibrant, like truly,
Wonderful.
truly vibrant.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's like a shot of vitamin N, vitamin Nancy, really. I mean, I'm ready to, this morning was a struggle for me, and I'm like, no, you just need a shot of Nancy.
But what Mark did is exactly what I love to do. I mean, you don't do it all the time because people think you're really crazy. But really, you look at somebody and they go, have we got time for one more quick story?
Yes.
Okay, my husband and I were going through a drive-through coffee shop, and it was one morning, and the drive-through came around and was close to an outdoor patio. And it looked like the Gentleman's Book Club, like these old timers had gathered. It looked like there were about 10 of them there. And they're just back and forth. And of course, I'm driving and we're just coming by slowly because it's a circular deal. Driving slowly. I had the window down and I yelled out the window. And then what happened? And they all went like, and then they're looking at the car like, do you know her? Do you know? And then you just wave and drive on.
Give a story to tell when they go home that night.
This woman does anybody, like seriously, I mean, you're not being mean, you're not being rude, but you're adding a little spark. And, I didn't hurt anybody. I left them. I don't think I did. But you leave them wondering, and certainly you've got a good laugh yourself.
I love it. That's
That's
beautiful.
awesome. All right, everybody who needs a shot of vitamin N, follow the links in the show note and get
Okay, good.
Nancy. Nancy, thank you for joining us today. And
My pleasure.
I always like to give a shout out to our listeners. Thank you for joining us today as well and listening in. Let's go infuse more compassion into the world in this coming week. And let's have that vibrant, accomplished life where we're continuing to accomplish more and give more than we take. I love that as an ending point. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Infuse Compassion podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, please share a review and like the podcast so other compassionators can join us. Until next time, let's all do something each day to infuse compassion into the world. For more information on our guests, see the show notes. For more information on Mark and Amy, go to infusecompassion.com.